A movie that sucks so bad it's pulled right from the theaters? It happens in Hollywood. From Johnny Depp's crackpot project to acclaimed directors' worst works, here are some movies that bombed hard and then vanished in a snap, starting with a film that justifies its title.
Ready for your new house?
This is a new beginning.
The Disappointment Room was a total disappointment. Why? Because if you take Scary Movie and you make it serious, you'll have The Disappointment Room. This horror thriller made sure no cliche horror trope is missed. So it comes brimming with predictable jump scares, slamming doors, and a massive ruined house that screams, "I am haunted." Naturally, Kate Beckinsale's lead becomes that girl in spooky gigs that just can't take a hint. Hear this. Her poor acting, aimless direction, and even more lost plot had the scariest consequence. The studios that pulled it went bankrupt. Initially, Relativity Media shelved it, but Rogue Pictures wanted a go at it, so it purchased the movie's rights. Bad decision, mate. By its third week of release, 97% of theaters scrapped it. Yikes. But at least it lasted 4 more weeks, making its entire life 7 weeks. Sadly, this next horror flick wasn't so lucky. It was sent packing right after 3 weeks.
I went to check on the children. Their beds were empty.
Alone in the Dark should have been kept in the dark. Even though Uwe Boll's pictures are notorious for being hilariously scary, this 2005 thriller slashed the limits. It takes the cake for one of the worst Boll creations ever. Alone in the Dark combines paranormal activities and a detective investigating them. And let me tell you, with so many graphic murders happening, Christian Slater fails miserably as Detective Edward Carnby. Even if you get past that, the special effects look awfully similar to Sharknado. That only begged for critics' bombing, and they weren't shy about it. According to them, it's too tame to horrify in the horror genre and too stagnant to move the audience as a thriller. In short, failing on both fronts. Thankfully, its budget wasn't that big. The project still managed to earn around $12 million on a $20 million budget. But the same can't be said for this next movie on my list. This 2003 film recovered a mere $7 million out of a $70 million budget. Bennifer's Jiggly was a criminal flick, no doubt. It was supposed to be this big-budget blockbuster starring the it couple of that time. But Ben and Jen couldn't bring the real-life magic to real life, mainly because the romance kept drowning in the convoluted mafia plot. You could tell the makers just wanted to cash the Bennifer hype, paying little to no attention to the actual movie. Jenny's character was portrayed as gay, but she was still romancing the super misogynistic lead hero? Yeah, no one could digest that. That's why it was grounded after around 3 weeks when theaters refused to show it. Bet the entire crew would want to bury this deep in their portfolio. No cap. The director Martin Brest didn't make a movie after Jiggly, and it's been 2 decades since then. Still, Jiggly should have done better with names like Al Pacino, Lopez, Affleck, and Christopher Walken attached to it. And it's not only the A-lister cast that didn't deliver. The audience didn't expect this next disaster.
This may be a customary greeting in America. I don't know. What is in it for me, as they say?
Do it for Queen and country.
No.
From Depp and Company, his Mordecai was branded the worst movie of 2015. Even though Johnny doing eccentric roles isn't new, this one was unbearable. It was just 1 hour and 47 minutes of him making wacky faces in a mustache. Even though 2 Iron Man alums, Gwyneth Paltrow and Paul Bettany, Olivia Munn, Jeff Goldblum, and Ewan McGregor all popped in, it wasn't enough. The film still turned out to be a major flop. Domestically, Mordecai got just 7 mils and was pulled out of theaters after a month. Most of its revenues came from international screenings, bumping its earnings to $40 million. That's still $20 million short of its actual budget. So there you have it, the proof that all that star power can't save a project. Just like what happened to Mariah Carey's ambitious 2001 musical. Remember, not all that glitters is gold, fellas. Scratch that, there was nothing that sparkled in glitter. This movie was a major wake-up call, saying that just because you can sing well doesn't mean you can act well. Carey should have probably stopped at her 2001 Glitter album, but nope, she just had to co-produce the movie and star in it for more publicity. Well, the songwriter did get the publicity, but it obviously wasn't the good kind. Forget earning more from it, Glitter, the film, became a PR nightmare for the singer. Negative reviews Reviews attacked it from left, right, and center, even scarring her album's reception. All that invested money went down the drain, and Mariah's reputation along with it. So the only sensible option left was to pull it out of the theaters and pretend it never happened. That proved to be the only smartest decision about this 2001 movie. Seriously, 20th Century Studios should have never distributed it in the first place. The Songbird later revealed it didn't even have a proper script to begin with. That's why the outcome was just a cringy, cheesy rom-com musical. Even the Lambily didn't appreciate it. Honestly, nobody was surprised when the movie got a 7% Rotten Tomato rating, but the following one was so bad it didn't even get a rating.
Max?
No, stay back!
Max Steel has a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. There's Venom, and then there is its knockoff version in this 2016 Stuart Hendler picture. Not even joking. Just like the Tom Hardy blockbuster, Max Steel unites a teenage boy, Max, with an alien Steel to make something of a superhero. You could say this movie walked so Venom could run. Oh, who am I kidding? The sci-fi flick was actually just a 1.5 hour long commercial for Max Steel action figures. You could call them Barbie's cousins since Mattel owns both. So, the toy company had a line of action figures it wanted to sell. What did it do? Of course, make a movie out of it and scorch the audience's poor eyes. And the makers knew it was terrible. That's why they didn't have an advanced screening for the critics. They just released the movie, and it became critic fodder, and then got pulled back after just 3 weeks.
De Football Association.
FIFA.
Finally, this next FIFA-backed project was another example of over-the-top promotions with a 0% rating. This movie takes the prize for having the shortest theatrical run on this list. United Passions ran for just 3 days. The 2014 soccer biopic left no stone unturned to glorify the ex-FIFA executives. Only it couldn't have picked a more unlucky time for its release. When United Passions hit the screens, the soccer world was blazing with a shocking FIFA corruption scandal. The movie probably would have been a hit if it covered the scandal itself, but it was too late for that. Even its director, Frederick Auberton, realizes what a huge mistake it was. He compared himself to the person who brought AIDS to Africa. And believe it or not, it's just one of the less harsh comments for this movie. United Passion just ended up portraying the allegedly corrupt overlords as these majestic heroes. Yeah, the audience wasn't fooled by any of it. The fact that it was just a lackluster, one-dimensional attempt at a movie didn't help either. All it did was waste millions of FIFA funds and get labeled as propaganda. Hear this, the Tim Roth starer got just $918 in total. So it made total sense when every soccer fan and critic united against this biopic, blasting it with a passion. And that's some of the most terrible short-lived cinematic releases. See you in the next one.